Hi everybody and welcome back to the Quick Fix series by Bildunginteraktiv. In this little clip we will explain to you the difference between each other and one another, if there is any. Now let's start with each other. Your textbooks and your grammar books, they tell you that you can use each other when only two things or two people are involved. So each other can be used in sentences like this one. Susan and Tom love each other, which means that Susan loves Tom and Tom loves Susan. Two things, and in this case of course two people involved use each other. The two dogs looked at each other. One is looking at the other and the other is looking back. Two animals involved use each other. Or you can say the cats chased each other, which according to grammar books means that there's two cats and they're kind of running one after the other. Okay, so only two things or two people involved use each other. And your textbooks tell you when there's more than two people or more than two things involved, use one another. In sentences like the family members love one another, which means there's mama, daddy and two kids and everybody loves everybody, so to speak. It's like the family members love one another. It's more than two people involved. Use one another. The kids followed one another into the building. It's like there's a line of 10 kids, for example, and one is after the other, so they followed one another into the building. More than two people involved. And when you say the cats chased one another, according to grammar books, that means actually that there's more than two cats involved. Alright, so far the textbooks say each other for two items and one another for three items or more than two items. Now, luckily, language is a democratic process. Not grammar books make language, even though you might think so. People make language. And if a certain amount of people, millions and millions of people, use a certain construction over a longer period of time, it will eventually become language and it will also become grammar. And the difference between each other and one another is actually disappearing in modern English. In other words, it doesn't exist anymore. Or let's say it almost doesn't exist anymore. You can use those two interchangeably. You can say, why can't you all be nice to each other? Obviously, there's more than two people involved here. Why can't you two be nice to each other and why can't you all be nice to each other is perfectly all right. Bill and Peggy can't stand one another is perfectly okay English. There's nothing wrong with that. Bill can stand Peggy and Peggy can stand Bill. You can use one another here. And the twins, which obviously is two people, the twins got on one another's nerves. You can also say the twins got on each other's nerves, which I actually would prefer. I cannot actually say that one another's nerves is a mistake. The twins got on one another's nerves it's okay, it's perfectly alright English. So the difference between each other and one another is disappearing in modern English. Which does not mean that you don't have to be careful, because the difference between each other and themselves is very clear. So you want to watch out for this. Let's have a look at those two sentences. They're looking at themselves and they're looking at each other. What's the difference? When you say they're looking at each other, they're standing face to face. One person is looking at the other person and the other person is looking at the one person. When you say they're looking at themselves, this means they're basically two people standing in front of a mirror. And she is looking at herself and he is looking at himself. So don't make that mistake. They're looking at themselves, they're looking at each other, there is a difference. And this, not to make that difference, that would be a mistake. But between one another and each other, you can actually choose. That's it, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for watching. That was a really quick fix thing. We see you when we get to the next video. Until then, we say bye-bye and have a good time.